Night Music Show, brought to you by DJ Event Planner. Look at them, check them out in the description of this video for more information, as well as our other sponsors. If I sound weird tonight, I got an infection thing where I'm kind of got a protruding upper mustache area here that kind of makes me look like I'm from Whoville or maybe a Simpson character. Perhaps.
What happened?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not here to talk about my health problems. I'm here to talk about.
Are you on medicine or are you self-diagnosing?
I went to the doctor. So.
Oh, and they said, okay.
But if I whistle when I talk, that's why. I'm not stroking out. I've got a thing here, just so you guys know. So anyway, Tuesday Night Music Show, DJ Event Planner, other sponsors, all that fun stuff. We have Matt from the 80s, or 90s rather. He's Mr. 90s Rock over here. That's his joint. And we have Howie. And we have Jay. We have Boston John. And we're going to do Boston John's Record Roundup. What do you got for us this week, brother?
I was inspired. We were talking some compilations before on one of the last shows that I just watched recently that aired. And I went back to what I would probably say is the first record that was ever mine, that was bought for me, that I still happen to own. We're going back into the 70s, kids, believe it or not. Before Now existed, there was such a thing called Columbia House. Mm-hmm. And I found Today's Greatest Hits, 1974 on vinyl.
It's only a penny, right?
Well, that starts being a penny. Then you have to buy some other records at retail prices later. But for a cross section of what was going on the radio, if you had to say what was going on here, this was, adult contemporary. There's some yacht rock. There's some grown folks R&B, like we like to call it here. But this was one of the first ones, and I was like, wow, I guess I can be a DJ now because I've got 20 songs that aren't all by the same artist. Look at me go. Yeah. Everything from I Shot the Sheriff from Clapton is on here. Midnight at the Oasis, Rock the Boat. Elton John appears, Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. Ricky, Don't Lose That Number. Please Come to Boston, which was kind of a nice touch. That was on my first record. Nothing from Nothing Leaves Nothing. I Never Knew Love Before Then Came You. So this was, it's not even called Volume 1 because there was never anything like it. They didn't know it was going to be a continuing series. So this is the first of the first. So this maybe paved the way for those compilation records to keep coming out, quarterly with all the pop hits of today. But this was this is the first one, and the only one I actually did the BPMs on for was 116 for Rock the Boat, because that was really the only dance track on it, because it was yacht rock and AM radio. But that's a pick of the week, so don't rule out compilations, because they can give you a lot of good stuff quickly, and there's a whole bunch of material you can use for, I guess would be cocktail now, throwback cocktail. So
is that something you said Columbia House put that out? Yeah,
it was a Columbia House release, 1975.
Wow.
I'll check it. It's 1974. So I would have been 5, Lord Almighty. But
very nice.
Mom was upset. It didn't have, she wanted Rhinestone Cowboy and because they only tell you so many songs on the record. She's like, maybe I'll get it this time.
Yeah, probably turned up on a Ronco or something,
Yeah.
That's a pick of the week.
Nice pick. Matt, what do you got for us from the 90s?
So I have one just 4 years after John's 1974, little piece of 1978. And matter of fact, the little pieces of 8 by Styx. This is just an amazing album art. So even on the inside, there's the band right there. So
not a handsome group, I'll be honest.
Pretty good.
Video kill the radio star.
Really, but
no, the girl guitar player's cute. That one girl,
that young lady's really good. Tommy Shaw, yeah, she's good.
Yeah, she's cute.
Tommy with an eye, yeah.
Just like that.
So this has
James of the Smashing Pumpkins.
Lady, I think, is on that one, isn't it?
Yeah. Which one?
Is Lady on that one?
Lady is not on this one, but Renegade is.
I love that song.
Yes.
That Miss America on there?
Made it for me.
That's on Grand Illusion.
So Great White Hope, I'm okay. Sing for the Day, Messenger, Lords of the Ring. Is it, if I'm pronouncing it right, Aku Aku? And Pieces of Eight title track, Queen of Spades and Blue Collar Man.
Blue Collar,
Good one.
That's a huge.
Call man.
Yeah.
That's a
Renegade.
big one.
Chicago band. Buddy would approve if he was in tonight.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Buddy's
Yeah.
on Twitch.
If he knows their.
If he
And
know.
I got this.
He would know about sticks.
For,
Yeah, I think it's mandatory.
really broke the bank buying this one too, guys. I don't know. See that?
$5.
I mean, that's telling you. Maybe that's gonna be my gimmick for the record roundup. I always seem to find the bargains.
There you go. Money well spent. It's a good record.
That's why they call it the bargain bin. So, yeah.
Right.
There we go.
So Howie, what New York
Living
Dolls
up to
album
the
are you
name.
going to talk about this week?
Okay. My pick was something that I think is universally accepted, at least in our circles, and we touched on it last show. Cheap Trick live at Budokan.
Classic.
Now, I made the mistake of buying the real album, and I was like, I got to buy the live one. There's nothing like it. It's just amazing. It's got, Surrender, Ain't That a Shame, I Want You to Want Me, the three big ones. And
Ain't That a Shame's on that one?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
And this came out in Japan 5 months before it hit the States, and that was in 1978. So it didn't hit America till 79.
It was a staple. I think
Classic.
It was.
between Peter Frampton and Cheap Trick, those were the hot live albums.
Yes.
I mean,
100%.
Kiss Live was popular, but I would argue that their studio stuff for the most part was cooler. I think,
Yeah.
well, I don't know. There's a really cool version of Detroit Rock City on there that I like, but
Mhm.
yeah, the live stuff was like the hot stuff.
These were bigger in respects to the general populace, I would say.
Yeah.
Because the Kiss Live stuff was for fans, and then radio started playing Rock and Roll All Night, the live version.
I Want You to Want Me studio is lame.
It
Compared to
is.
live, yeah.
It's
Just
awful.
this-
Absolutely.
yeah, but have you ever heard, Do You Want Me kind of, the Peter Frampton, the 15-minute live,
We do.
Do You Feel Like We Do versus the studio?
Yeah.
Much different version.
Yeah, and even some of the live versions are different. I've talked about my favorite version of that song is the Midnight Special version, which is only like 7 minutes long.
Yeah, no, I know that,
But I like that version better than I do the Frampton Comes Alive version. But yeah, that was a staple
Oh, yeah.
at our house.
Definitely.
Well, yeah.
And in the clubs too, for me.
Do you remember listening to the Cheap record and just how insanely rabid the fans sounded in the background? It sounded like a bunch of young girls screaming at a basketball rally. I'm like,
Sounded
what
like
is
Beatles stuff.
Yeah.
and that was Japan. I mean, so the bands were really pulling crowds over there if that's all legit and not studio trickery,
That really enhanced the sound, I thought, at the end when you'd hear that instant. I was like, yeah, there's somebody else likes it besides me.
Look at the beginning of, I Want You to Want Me, and the audience just goes ballistic. It's
Yeah,
like,
you're pulling the fader down for that little spot.
wow. Yeah.
I remember
Make a hot
wondering if there was something wrong with that person when the way they said that. And I really didn't realize they were talking to a Japanese audience. They were trying to say it slowly.
Right.
But
Yes,
I thought,
yes,
did they have a stroke or something? What's wrong with this person? Why are they talking like that?
No, Robin was like going along for the run.
Yeah, there was quite a gap after You. I Want You. And then there was a gap to want me.
Me. Yes.
Yeah.
It's like a
Well,
Jan and Dean thing. What's going
Japan's had that. I mean, I believe Deep Purple's live album was recorded in Tokyo.
Yes.
Japan has always had this thing about,
on? Well, My Woman from Tokyo. It's kind of.
well, yeah, but I think they did their live album. I think it was in Japan. Made in
Get an
Japan.
How's he doing over there?
I think the
Yeah.
album is actually called Made in Japan.
Yeah.
And then Judas Priest had a live album in Japan, Made in the East. They've always had this reputation of blowing bands up. Mr. Big would sell 1,000 seats in America on any given tour, but they would sell 20,000 seats in Japan on every tour.
Yeah.
Big in Japan.
And a lot of bands did
They were
that.
just craving entertainment out there, like they were deprived almost.
Well,
I wonder if
anything Western They lied.
But rock, they really went after rock.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but I remember Dead or Alive was big over there.
Mhm.
They had like a live concert from there. It was Japan. They didn't do it from England or Europe or here. They did it in Japan.
There was a
How so
band
much
called
like
Japan.
their anime and pop culture is popular here. It's amazing how this kind of transition. We get things from each other.
Sure. Yeah, culture is fun.
Yeah, they have a saying, or they had a saying over there because they were rebuilding after World War II, and we did the rebuilding, and they had disposable income, and that's why. And they had a saying, it was called the Honda Dream. Like we had the American Dream, they had the Honda Dream, and that referred to a 50cc Honda scooter. And if you had a good enough job and can afford, a place to live and have the Honda Dream, you were balling up over there. Yeah.
Well, speaking of balling, let's see what Jay's got and swing to me.
Well, I'm going to go to something that was actually released last week, 33 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But I'm pumped.
You had us there.
Yeah, I did a little Prince thing. I did a little it's been 7 hours and 15 days. I kind of went down that road a little. I was listening to these guys today, and I forgot just how good they are. And I've always liked these guys, and they're a break off of another huge band. And if I'm not mistaken, and I know I'm not on this one, they're actually considered part of the Big Four, which is Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, and this week's album, Megadeth. And we are going to, even though there's only 3 big hits on it, I think everything on it's great. And that is Rust in Peace. And you know it from Holy Wars, The Punishment Due, Tornado of Souls, Hangar 18, Polaris, which is the Rust in Peace, Polaris piece. And there's still 4 other tracks that are really good. And if you need that thrashy metal thing, like you're going to the gym, or you're, a heartbeat away from digging a grave, or you just need to blow off some steam.
Just playing for a bunch of angry guys in their 50s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Put on your earbuds and just turn it up to 11 and put on Holy Wars, The Punishment Due. And you'll probably reevaluate your life choices, maybe take some psychotropic meds to get yourself back on track. Or you'll just realize this is amazing. I mean, this was a track, I got this cassette, and I remember in the Volkswagen with my Blaupunk blasting this because there's so many good guitar parts on it. So much good guitar work on it. And it's Marty Friedman, who famously fell in love with Japan on tour and ended up marrying a Japanese girl and now lives there and speaks fluent Japanese and is a star in Japan. Marty Friedman from Cacophony with Jason Becker, who sadly is fighting ALS and still alive. But he came up with that whole guitar thing back in the late 80s, mid 80s to late 80s, and ended up joining Megadeth as one of their 400 guitar players that have been in the band.
Well, that's true too.
I played with him on 3 tours. I mean,
Friedman, I know.
Yeah.
Friedman's got his own amp line. Friedman's doing something right. So
it's like, guitar players in and out of Megadeth are kind of like Brian and I both slept with Madonna.
It's like the drummers, drummers and Spinal Tap. It's one of those who's on this tour. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Is it Chris this time, or Marty, or Ventro, or which one? Oh, that one. Okay, good. Yeah.
No, good band, a good pick. I mean, when Megadeth broke up, just because I remember being a Metallica fan and, hearing Megadeth, and they're like, oh, that guy used to be in Metallica. And the question was, well, why isn't he still? He's really good. And you knew he had something to prove. He came out with the chip on his shoulder, and he just... Well,
I mean, if you want a chip on your shoulder, the first 2 albums are killing. The first album is Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good. And the second album, I still think, is one of the best album titles ever. Peace Sells, but who's buying?
That was the big one in my world.
Yeah.
I think that's when I first heard
Well, Peace Sells has, In My Darkest Hour, which is, if you want to listen to a great 5-6 minute song, check out "In My Darkest Hour" from Peace.
Well, the title track is amazing on that.
The title track is,
Yeah.
and it's very punk.
What do you mean?
Yeah, the title track is a very punk style track, and it showed their early influence of Metallica being hard rock and punk.
I want to
like-
watch the news. This is the news.
Yeah. Who's buying? And it's like, no one's going to argue Dave Mustaine's a great vocalist, but he could deliver tracks on these albums
It
easily.
was
I saw them.
like 1974 to me. Like he was like held back a decade or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. But
Looked
yeah,
like
it
he
is.
belonged in the 80s. Big lungs.
Well, as John said, he famously was the original guitar player for Metallica
Yes.
before Kirk Hammett. And if
Yeah,
you
I'll kinda
listen
look that
to
way, too.
Kill 'Em All, especially Four Horsemen, and No Remorse and Seek and Destroy, and then you listen to the first Megadeth album, it's pretty apparent who wrote all those guitar parts. Because there's a song called Mechanics on Killing Is My Business, and it is the absolute riff from
Four Horsemen.
Four Horsemen. And you're like, wow, he stole it. It's like, oh no, wait a second.
No, he owns it. He can use
owns
it all
it.
he wants.
And he
he's-
wrote both of them. Yeah.
He's letting them use it. This is his.
It's like listening to John Sykes' work after Whitesnake and going, oh, I get it now. Okay, John Sykes wrote everything for Whitesnake. Okay, now
I know you're in your zone, Jay, and I hate to pull you.
Yeah, sorry to
No,
hide.
it's okay. It's okay. I know you get excited when you can
Hashtag topic Megadeth.
music subject. And go. I know. We're going to hear all about it. I won't be long on this. This
Prince.
is no.
Oh.
No. I got an autographed album to show you.
Oh,
Yeah, autographed to me.
Grandmaster?
No.
Oh.
No. I think it's their best album, which is why I chose this one to get autographed. That's my
Aerosmith
opinion. It wasn't their most
rocks.
popular album, but it's one I like. And that would be Foreigner's first album.
Oh my God, their first album's amazing.
Yeah, autographed by Mr. Lou Graham. Yeah.
Rev on the Red Line, Damage Done.
The reason I really like this album, just from a perspective of this show, I thought it was a good pick. And I may have even done this album before. I don't remember. But it's one you can put on and listen to back to back, and it's fine.
Whole album.
Like on your record player, just put it on.
No skips. Yeah, just
Check it out. Yeah, you don't want to skip
through.
anything. It's good. There's some decent tracks on here that, you just don't hear. The ones, okay, of course, Feels Like the First Time is like an
Great song.
amazing song. Cold as Ice, another
Great song.
amazing song, classic. But some that you may not have in your lexicon that are worth checking out would be Starwriter,
Great song.
really cool song, and Head Knocker.
That's a great song too.
Really
Yeah.
cool song.
I would argue that Rev on the Red Line and The Damage Is Done are both great songs too.
Oh, they are. Absolutely.
And how many songs are on that album? Like 8?
10.
Okay. So we've just named 7.
Long Way from Home's on here too.
It's a great song.
Nice
It's a
little
great guitar intro.
So
Great staple.
this is a super cool album, guys. If you
Yeah.
ever run across this,
It's a sleeper.
first- I call it the Trench Coat album. You know,
Sure, why not?
I call it the Trench Coat album. Pick it up. I mean, Double Vision's really good. You know, I'm not a Foreigner 4 guy. I'm not. That should be my generation's Foreigner album, but this is the one I dig.
That was too commercial compared to this album and Double Vision. I thought 4 was a little too.
That was Mutt that kind of polished it up. And
It's kind of like the Cars Heartbeat City to me. It's like
also Mutt.
not really. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's
I guess
also-
it's
yeah.
popular, but whatever.
But John makes a good point. When the producer affects the band, and Mutt Lang did just that. He took bands from, hey, I like what you did on this, and then they take that rawness and turn it into Highway to Hell.
I can sell out an arena
And
if you let
Back
me
in
produce a
Black.
record and
Van
Yeah.
Halen 1984.
And it happens.
I mean,
Yeah.
and over.
I'll change you from a raw rock thing to a polished. Every track is a bad. I mean, Highway to Hell. There isn't a bad song on it. There literally isn't a bad song on.
Back in Black, Hysteria. I mean, Mutt was everywhere.
Yeah, and Mutt had it down. Well, I mean, even Shania Twain. I mean, that album came out and like just dominated. He had his secret sauce, and he knew how to take care of it. He blew up Bryan Adams. He blew up a lot of careers and made them who they are by giving them this new lease on music. But I agree with Brian. I think the first Foreigner, and I like Double Vision a lot because it's my period piece. That was my
I
freshman
like
year
Head Games.
of high school.
Yeah.
And I mean, Blue Monday and Double Vision, those are great tracks. But the first album is such a sleeper. Every time I play Rev in the Red Line or The Damage Is Done, I always get the same comments. Who was that? And it was Foreigner.
That's the ones that didn't make the radio because they had so many other hits. That's
right.
Sadly, something had to
Long
fall
Way
off the
from
table.
Home has like this guitar intro that's like iconic.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a very simple guitar riff, but it's iconic against the period of music.
I remember you used to hear Star Rider a lot on Classic Hits Radio. I don't think you do anymore, but
I haven't heard that on the radio in
you used to hear it all the time. But Head Knockers one I never heard anywhere except like
and that's a
to
great
it
song
in the car with my brother or whoever happened to have it in their 8-track deck. That was the track.
Yeah, but Brian, you touch on something that we don't mention very often. This is all music from a period, for the most part, where you only had two places to primarily enjoy it. One was at home and one was in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And in either one of those, you weren't distracted by your phone, social media, the internet, cable. So you were dropping a needle or pushing a cassette tape in, and you went for the ride. So if you drove for an hour, you'd listen to the same cassette 1.5, 1 3/4 times.
Sure.
So you got to grow with the music. Now, and I have always blamed iTunes for this song is more popular than this song. You should just buy this one. No, you should buy the entire piece and let it kind of work its way into you.
Well, that's the beautiful thing, especially with rock like this. Album rock radio thing where, they used to have these DJs just come in at night and they'd bring their record collection and just play whatever the hell they wanted. They weren't necessarily the hits. They were just songs they liked,
College radio, same thing.
That's why college
radio was a big one for me.
That's why
me too.
No, it wasn't even college radio. This was like FM rock radio. And I remember that's the first time I heard like Beatles, Why Don't We Do It in the Road? I was probably 6 or 7 years old and I heard that track. And the DJ, I remember he came on afterward. He says, I got a phone call. And the lady was not happy about, the context of that song that I played. But I don't know, if you like Peace and Love, they were really part of the anti-war movement. So kiss my ass. And he went on and played something else.
Right.
I mean, it's just stuff that sticks with a guy,
When radio jocks had power and a voice to make a difference.
Yeah.
Sure.
And sadly, a week later, Howie was fired from that radio station. And fortunately, you two have been brought back together through the power of John Young. So, I mean, it all worked out, really.
Right.
When you think about it. By the way, I didn't comment, but I laughed inside. Whenever Howie jumps on his album, he's like, and you go back to World War II. And I'm like, oh, no. Howie's going to the childhood revisited period.
Actually, I went past the first two guys that went, and mine was, came out later.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Yeah.
But, and by the way, I got to say this because on my list of top 5 memories in my life, riding my bicycle with my Delelis lawn cutting money to buy Cheap Trick Live at Budokan on vinyl and The Police Outlandish D'Amour in April of 1979 at Belmont Music, riding home and spending 5 minutes looking at them going, which one's first? And then literally closing my eyes and like dropping them on my bed, which made no sense, and whichever one landed on top.
Right.
And it was The Police. So I listened to the entire Police album of 9 songs or 6 songs, and then put on Cheap Trick and just remember thinking, man, I can't wait to go to a concert. And within 3 months, I saw Peter Frampton at the Boston Garden with Climax Blues Band opening up for him.
Ooh.
And it's the first time in my life, the young ladies 2 rows behind me, because I was down on the floor in a good seat. Thank you, Dad, for getting me great tickets. And these 2 young ladies with kind of longish brown hair and hip hugger jeans. And they decided to take, I believe one was white, one was like a soft blue with a little bit of piping and frill. And they lifted their tops. And I was faced with what would ultimately become one of the greatest moments of my life. I could use a moment right now.
They're trying to get the band's attention, not yours, but whatever. It played out the way it played out.
I just remember leaving going, I've now smelled excessive marijuana, heard loud music, and seen women's breasts. And just, I thought if I die right now,
It was a good day.
are you going to top this? And I had no bills. And gasoline was only like 63 cents a gallon.
You, the Judd's grandpa, tell us about the good old days.
Oh, dude.
Back in my day.
Literally, I just remember I turned around at the perfect time and they both went. And I just was like, I elbowed Jay Crosby in the arm and said, turn around. And he turned around and he had a weird look. And it was that look that I would realize years later, yeah, he didn't like girls as much as I did. It's okay.
That's the only way you can make a band skip, I think, is that maneuver. And only ladies have the power. So
it wasn't sold out at the Garden. It was his. And what's sad is this was 79. Frampton Comes Alive was 76, right, Brian?
I think so.
I think so. And so you're talking 3 years, and he had 2 albums between it. The album he was touring, and the I'm in You album after the Comes Alive.
That was after Comes Alive with,
Yes, the song I'm in You.
right.
And that was the name of the album. He sat on the cover looking all weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet he'd gone from selling like, Texas Jam and Cal Jam and all these massive arenas and stadiums. And he had already started to go down. Like 79, he was already down. And he toured with Bowie in 84.
You said it was
Spiders?
It was for Tin Machine, or was the Glass Spider tour, and that was later on. That was mid 80s.
Yeah, mid 80s. Yeah. So, and by then he was already like off
Day
the
in, Day
map.
Out maybe was Glass Spider.
Yeah, but the point is just you look at a career in the span of a decade from the height of it to literally starting to slide a couple years later to within 10 years now being a sideman.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because on one hand we talk about how, back in the old days, you could listen to a record back to back and hear weird stuff, and today, you got to get the hits and all that. I will put in an argument here, and you tell me if you agree with me or not. If you don't, I will simply just argue my case. You don't have to agree with me when I'm done, but I'll give you my point of view. I believe when it comes to anything that's popular, be it fashion or music, things move really slow now. It's not a rapid thing like it used to be.
Nope.
So it's odd because things have a lot more staying power than they used to. And
Because people are lazy.
well, I think people are safe.
Yeah,
take the
which is
safe road.
lazy. Yeah,
They
that's
take
lazy.
the safe road with fashion. They take the safe road with music.
Yes,
But I think we used to take more risks
100%.
and do some more radical things. The downside was the shirt you bought at the beginning of the school year was totally out of fashion at the end of the school year.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the downside. The upside was there was always something new. There was I remember hearing great music, just great music, and saying, "Hey, this is fantastic. What's next?" I mean, that was where my brain was. No matter how good the song was,
Right.
what's next? People don't do that anymore.
Because they go into styles now, I think. And we all as DJs have to know what's new. We have to listen to it. But I probably have 100 new tracks on my hard drive that you'd have a very difficult time establishing artist versus genre versus period. Because there's a similarity that runs, there's like a thread that runs through all of them.
Sure.
I look back on the 80s. I look at what was popular in 1980 when I was 16 and the music that was going on then. Within 2 years, it had changed.
Right.
And within 2 more, it had changed again. And then by 86, it was completely on its head. Then 88 rolls around and I'm totally going down a different path. And then you hit 90 and you're like, oh my God, in 10 years, the fashion and everything else was rapidly
Everything's
moving.
changed.
Then the 90s hit, and you've got that, oh, I'm sad. I don't want to pay my bills. I want to.
92. Let's be fair about this.
Well, yeah, but
The first 2 years of the 90s were an extension of the 80s as far as
they were, but there was still that rumbling of, let's leave
the
big
stone was
party
still
thing
rolling at
behind.
that point.
It wasn't about me as much. It was about us and all that. But even the fashion of the 90s dramatically changed. But it changed as the decade went. The 80s took the most chances, in my opinion. 70s was like hippie into
70s took some chances
into
too.
punk. No, they took chances, but they didn't get as radical as the 80s.
I don't
was
know.
that one decade.
The 70s.
Look at now. I don't even know what fashion is today. Every time I see a fashion show, it looks like shit that people wore in the 80s and 90s. It doesn't look like.
But
this is.
I think you're forgetting about the whole disco culture and what was going on there.
Right, and that
was pretty different.
Oh no, it was totally different. No. But I'm saying you started with that kind of still hippie thing in the 70s. Then you hit that period in the mid 70s. Like I was explaining to my kids, we used to, in the early 80s, you would sit at home with an iron and iron a pleat in your jeans.
In the jeans, yeah.
Before you went out. We gave a real crap about how we looked. I mean, I had 7 or 8 different Paul Mitchell hair products because this one did this, and then you put a freeze on it, and then you did that, and then you did this. It seems like there was a lot more sense of self.
So
in the
Jay,
past
what
than now.
What comes between you and your Calvins?
Absolutely nothing.
I remember my friend Cheryl was complaining because this was years back, but she was complaining about something. But then I got to thinking about, I'm like, there's a reason for this. She was complaining because she was traveling a lot back and forth between here and Europe, and she's like,
I complain about that all the time, Brian.
How come people don't like dress up to travel like they used to? People just show up in their pajamas and just don't care.
I've heard this 100 times.
And I thought, well, it's because
it's true.
Security. You don't want to,
and they're lazy. And they're lazy.
Well, but it's
and they're lazy.
Thing.
But they're still lazy.
Your shoes off, and you've got to do the, empty your pockets. For me, okay, I dress like I'm dressed right now to go through airport security, but I'd be smart to wear pajamas because I got to take my belt off.
Right.
And that's a pain in the butt. And there's metal in my pants, and I got to take us. So I get it why people are more casual now because they
But they look like slobs. When I was in Japan, they said to me, when we go to America, we wonder, why do your women dress so poorly? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we would go to get coffee in the morning, and the women, their hair was not done. There was no makeup. Then you go to Japan, it's 6 o'clock in the morning, and there are girls that look like kabuki dolls on the train, and they're dressed like they're going to the biggest club, the biggest rave.
Yeah.
And they're just going to school or work. There's a sense of
England
self.
is a bit like that too. I noticed that in the UK they dress. Even the young people dress.
But I think they still care. People here don't care.
It's a different culture there because in America we have cars. And we have this other culture. It's a car culture. We're worried about that. There they don't have it. They're taking the train, so they're all looking at each other all the time. So they want to look good, and they do.
I don't know if
we can kind of be alone. We don't live on top of each other like they do there. And we're in our own personal transportation vessels going places. We don't
think of ourselves in public the way they do. They think of they're a society that thinks we have to work within the realm of society.
But they live in public. That's the difference.
We're so individual. It's like, if I want to look like a slob today and not shave and not dress, I'm not gonna. Whereas they live in a society of there are rules, mores, norms. There are things that you just simply go with. And it's different today.
Well, not segue. This has nothing to do with music, but I think it's worth talking about because it's relative to this conversation. So I mentioned that I've got a thing here. I got an infection here.
Yep.
I went to the doctor today. I went to the urgent care center.
Did you play Thompson Twins?
Why not? So anyway.
Well, I'm saying doctor.
Doctor. Yeah.
Not
one doctor. One doctor, not doctor.
Oh, okay. So only one?
So, okay. So I go in there.
Can't play Martin then.
Whoever they are. The nurse takes my blood pressure, all that stuff. oh, well, the provider will be in soon, or whatever they called them. They didn't say doctor. They said that whatever. So dude walks in. He's got the mask on, you know. He's like, hey, what's going on today? He's a really nice guy, very professional, very thorough.
He was a PA.
I noticed that, no, I'm Dr. Whoever. He introduced himself.
Okay, so he's not a PA.
You know?
Okay, good.
Nice
you got
to
a
meet
real
you.
doctor. Good for you.
I noticed that both of his arms are sleeved. Like,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
and then I notice this dude's got a man bun. And then he finally takes his mask off, and he looks like these fools walking around out in front of my house.
Yeah.
Like with the beard, you know, and the gauge. And I would have never guessed in a million years this guy was a doctor. Like, I would have never guessed this.
He went to medical school.
I walked in there with jeans and my promo only t-shirt, and I looked more like a doctor than he did.
Yep.
It was just bizarre. It was like, okay, I guess we're doing this now. You know,
We are.
Speaking of the whole casual thing.
Look at chefs. There was a time when you would look at someone whose hands were tatted and go, that looks dirty. Now you look at someone whose hands are all tatted and you go, I bet he's an executive Michelin chef at a 5-star restaurant.
Yeah.
It's all about presentation. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not playing the old card here. You know, had the hair, did my thing. I'm into the music, but it's still a bit of a shock to the system. I mean, you know, I joke with Howie about age. We're not that far off. We grew up in the same sort of generation. Guys with tattoos were in either military or they were in clubs.
No, they were either
prison.
They were vets or
prison.
bikers.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, John will tell you this.
Either way, you didn't mess with them.
I left.
You saw a chick with tattoos. She's in the circus.
What the hell?
That
She's
chick was
in the freak
circus.
show. Yeah, she's
There's
in the freak
no other
show.
way she's got tattoos.
Nope, she's in the freak show. I left Massachusetts in 1993. You know what you couldn't get in Massachusetts in 1993? A tattoo. Not legally.
Really?
It was illegal in 1993.
Wow.
Yep. And I found out by going online. Do you know when tattooing became legal in the state of Massachusetts? 2006.
Really?
Yeah.
This century, yes. It was
I know go out of
illegal
state.
then.
Yeah. You got to go to Rhode Island or something.
You had to go around or Maine or New Hampshire. But Massachusetts did not allow legal tattooing until 2006.
Yeah. They considered it a medical invasive procedure, and a tattoo artist is not a medical person.
And you look at how different that's gone now. I mean, my 18-year-old son has 2 tattoos. I don't have any.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Well, here,
what the hell?
Check this out. So this is all kind of part of what we're talking about with how things move slower now. In the 80s, I don't think you could have gotten tattooed like that because
I didn't know
a lot
anyone
of
with a
fashion so
tattoo in the
fast.
Right.
You won't be stuck with
No.
it exactly.
Where now everything's
stuck
a
with it,
classic look. It's like it just
That's
it's
valid.
stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think about
Jordan
the young
shoes
girls.
as an example.
I think about the young girls who get tattoos. And
They're gonna regret it when they
do,
get
do
older.
whatever you want. Do whatever you. I don't care. I don't care what anybody does. I'm cool with whatever you want to do. But I just can't help thinking to myself, when a young girl gets a tattoo, and it's like a trendy tattoo, it's going to age her really fast as she gets older.
Well, do you remember how girls would get
And that was something.
lower back tattoo?
Yeah,
And there was no name for it.
Yeah.
No, but that's a new name. That name's 20 years old. There was a point where you would see girls in the 90s with a little tat on their lower back and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Then all of a sudden the word tramp stamp came up. And I'm like, what's a tramp stamp? It's like, you know, girls would have tats on the lower back and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a name for that? Oh, yeah, it's a tramp stamp. That's a bad thing. Now look at it. You couldn't pull that off today.
Well, I don't think it was a bad thing. It was just
I mean, tramp stamp, I don't think it was a compliment.
Yeah, but
I don't think it was like
look
she
who
went to
named it.
Harvard.
You know,
what they gave her upon graduation from
when I was young and single. If I met a chick with a tattoo, she was a sure thing.
This sounds like a Happy Days episode, like a divorcee or something.
she was down. She don't give a shit. She was down.
We're getting letters.
Gonna do that.
We're getting letters.
No, that was how it was. Now it's not like that.
Yeah, but I don't think
It doesn't mean anything anymore. Is what I'm trying to say.
You know what? And there were thousands, hundreds, maybe a couple hundred. I did a lot of dating, but I don't think I've ever Yeah, I'm pretty confident I can say I've never been with a woman who had a tattoo.
Oh, you're
Because again, being in Massachusetts till 93, it was illegal, which meant it was harder to get. So you had to really go out of your way. I didn't hang in an audience that was tatted. I knew girls, but I didn't date them. And when I came to California, no, I take that back. It just dawned on me when I was at the strip club. Yeah, no. Okay, just forget I said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I've
Like every night. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've definitely
was that,
been with
yeah.
several. Actually.
Yeah.
All right, well, whatever. But I mean,
But no,
still,
just
it's a different mentality now. It's a different mentality now.
Point being, it just moves slower now, where it used to be really,
Oh, insanely much slower.
But I will say that as DJs, it's to our benefit.
Oh yeah, we get away with murder.
Yeah, you can be.
I'm still playing Usher at every event. Nobody's saying boo to me. That track's like 20 years old.
Still hanging on to Uptown Funk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
my wedding this weekend. You know.
Oh yeah, no, my wedding this weekend. No Bruno Mars. I'm like, really? She goes, you don't still play Bruno Mars at weddings, do you? I'm like, Uptown Funk. I haven't done an event where I haven't played that in 10 years. She's like, seriously? I'm like, it packs the dance floor.
It works. Yeah.
I go, if you don't want it, because she goes, well, my friend got married and she didn't play Bruno Mars. And I said, I wouldn't either. And I'm like, okay, Taylor Swift, whatever. Oh, I don't want Taylor Swift either. I'm like, okay, no problems. Like, I'll do what you want.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you at the same, and I did a Brian Red. I go, let me explain weddings real fast. The ceremonies for you, the introduction, the first dance, the toast, the beautiful celebrations of the two of you being in love and committing to each other. But if after dinner, when dancing starts, you control the dance floor, you shouldn't have invited anybody. And the girl's mother's standing next to her. She goes, I told you. She goes, okay, let me revise my no list.
There's a nicer way to say that.
Well, and but I told you, I said, that's
not what I say.
No, but after dinner, it's for the guests. Like I'm playing to that audience.
The ceremony is for you. The reception is a thank you for your guests for coming.
Right. Exactly. But the dancing needs to include your guests more than you. And I learned that at my wedding. I think I famously told this story. I gave my DJ like 30 songs not to play. Half an hour of my reception after dancing started, no one's dancing. He comes over to me, he goes, hey, just wanted to show you this. Here's your no list. I put a check mark next to every song somebody's requested.
Yeah.
I'm like, how many got requested? He's like, every single one of them. I go,
but you don't want, they want to learn that lesson. That's
no, I did. I did 23 years ago. I did learn it. And I learned it so quickly. I said, I don't care if you play the Macarena 16 times in a row. Just play to the audience. Forget anything I told you, except the last song of the night is Aerosmith Home Tonight. Outside of that, I don't care. And the next thing I know is the dance floor was packed. He did his job as the DJ. I got out of his way. It was an amazing time. People loved it. Everyone danced, everyone partied. And I realized, you know what? Don't get so in your head about the music that you forget why you're there.
Well, I think we've talked about this before. I know I have. I don't know if we've done it on this show or Howie's show or off air or what. Probably all of the above.
Yeah.
But I did a video on this recently. What's with the Don't playlist? Why do they have these extensive Don't playlists? And why do they pick bangers to put on the Don't playlist? And no line dances and no Uptown Funk and no anything that anybody might like. And
I Got a Feeling, Saturday Night Wedding, their first no is I Got a Feeling by Black Eyed Peas. Guess what? It's a Saturday night. It's a wedding. It's outside. And I guarantee I'd pack the floor with that. I won't play it, but I looked over her list and I could argue why I should play every single song on Cha-Cha Slide.
Yeah.
But she wants Cupid Shuffle.
Well, here's
even though the Cha-Cha Slide tells you what to do.
This is my theory on this. And I did a video on it. And I'll bring it here. My theory on the Don't playlist is that most of the time, maybe not all the time, but most of the time, the reason they pick the songs they pick for the Don't playlist is because they're of the age, or maybe they've been to a handful of weddings in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And if they've been to a handful of weddings in the last 2 years, the common denominators at these weddings have been these songs. Right. So every wedding we go to is the same. So if we tell the DJ, don't play these songs, by default, our wedding has to be unique and different.
Can I ask you
my theory.
something? When is the last time, and I think I know the answer, but when is the last time you attended a wedding as a guest?
Boy, when was that? That was 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay. How many would you say in the last 20 years you've attended as a guest?
Not many. Probably 4, maybe. I don't know.
I went to my sister's wedding in
Oh,
Rhode
no, that's not
Island.
true. I went to my nephew's weddings. I went to...
That's what the wedding I thought you were going to say was your nephew.
I forgot about his. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Because that's the most recent one that I know you attended.
That was what?
And
2 years
did
ago?
you DJ? Wasn't
Yeah, I
there
did.
one in Arizona that you, or did you DJ that for Chris Bedke?
I didn't know. That was in 2010. Bedke DJ'd it. I didn't attend my nephew's wedding because it was during COVID.
Right. Okay. I went to my sister's wedding in 2003, 20 years ago. That's the last time I attended a wedding as a guest. Before that, the wedding before that would have been in 98, 99. So as a guest at a wedding, I've only been to a couple in the last 25 years. So for me, when people say, oh, I hear this at every wedding, it kind of bothers me a little in that I'm just like, but every wedding I DJ, when I play these songs, because I realized early in my career, you might hear this song every weekend, but those people on the dance floor don't.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
And that's your job. Your job
some of the
isn't,
people on the dance floor don't. The young people are hearing it repetitively.
well, but that's not,
Mom and dad aren't hearing him all the time.
but guess what?
But-
Mom and dad are the ones that have the money to hire you again. 1, 2, if they're packing the dance floor, because young people think they're too cool and they look too cool to dance. You know your sweet spot in a wedding. But the point is, it always kind of throws me when people get all uppity about, I hear this at every wedding. And I often will say to them, how many weddings have you been to? Like, do you go all the time? Like, is it because you're at that age where all your friends are getting married, or and you start to dig down and you realize one quick thing. I think the no list exists more so because couples don't want their wedding to sound like other weddings that they've been to because some of their guests were there too.
That's a novel idea.
That's
I wish I'd have
always
thought
been
of it.
my take. That's always been my take. No.
It's exactly what you said, with different words.
Am I losing my mind here?
No, you're not losing your mind, Brian.
Okay.
It's
You
verbiage.
use different verbiage.
It's the same but different.
It's the same thought, but it's expressed differently.
I
And
didn't say I'm going to the store. I said the store I'm going to. It's different.
it doesn't matter.
It totally flipped around. Totally flipped around.
But I think it's partially that, but I also think there is that sense of, in California, my wedding is too cool to hear this. That's more prevalent in my market. My market is, don't play I Got a Feeling, because that's not cool anymore. Don't play Bruno Mars. That's not cool anymore. And I had a meeting with the bride this morning in San Diego, and I said face to face. She goes, yeah, and don't play Bruno Mars. I'm like, oh, I'm curious. You just don't like Bruno Mars. That's cool. Oh, no, I like Bruno Mars. Some of his stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. But I mean, his stuff isn't good at weddings. I'm like, I guarantee if I play Uptown Funk, I'll pack your dance floor. Guarantee it. I guarantee I'll pack your dance floor with 24 karat magic. I'd bet you my fee I'd pack it. She goes, are you serious? I'm like, no. I do this for a living. I promise you, I will pack the floor with both of those tracks. I go, Finesse with Cardi B. I go, I could put 3 Bruno Mars tracks up at any wedding I do, and they'll all go over really well. Because if I play them in the right frames, they're not going to sound like I played 3 Bruno Mars songs. It's just going to sound like 3 tracks that everyone jumped on.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about that. I'm like, but I want you to be happy. It's your wedding. But understand, if you have guests attending, part of my job is to see what they want. Oh, no. That's cool. You can take requests, but just here's the no list. And it got longer instead of shorter. I was like, okay, no problem. Yeah.
Do
So
you
just
ever
remember,
think
Brian,
that-
I went to the store. You were planning on going to the store. It's all in the context of
Sure. Yeah, I understand.
vernacular,
Shame on me.
syntax, diction. Get a thesaurus for the next show.
I'll just have to look those things up. My brain is too small.
Plus, I get paid for more words now by Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. That's the deal with John Young.
Okay.
He cut my salary from $750K a show to $650, unless I can say
enough.
that was it.
That's the sad part about it, Jay. You never get enough airtime on any show that you're on.
Yeah, it's sad.
The JN DJ.
Yeah.
Poor John.
He's the unheard voice he is.
And when I talk to John, he's like,
once in a while.
No, John will call me on a weekly basis. How's the rudder? I'm like, what? How's the rudder? The guy that keeps the ship steering straight. And I go, well, I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. That Brian S. Red thing with the duck lip, though, is bothering me. I got to be honest.
I don't like it either.
Wear that away.
No, it's not the lip. It's the mustache area that's kind of making me look like somebody from Whoville.
Well,
hopefully that goes.
You could just correct that. I'm going to tell Izzy.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, please do. Okay, take some meds or something. Just have a drink.
Something.
Have a drink, huh?
Something. I made a
AC/DC. Drink on me.
That was Mutt too.
I made a post today.
Call back.
Yeah.
I think just to tie up the thing with the weddings you were saying and what people's songs, what they want, what they don't. We've probably been to less of them because, we're getting older. When we were 21 to 25, like our friends' age, and they all got married, we went to all those weddings. Now those people are all our age, and if they get married, it's not for the first time anymore. It's their second or maybe third. So maybe that kind of falls off over time.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm experiencing
good to see you again. Yeah,
a lot of the young people weddings. So our nieces, our nephews, maybe some really close friends of our kids. Like those are the weddings we go to. We don't go to somebody's wedding who we know. We go to somebody's wedding that's a family member.
Getting called to attend or getting called to work are two different things. It's like, would like you to come.
No, I've attended. I've attended a few. I mean, I'm not always the DJ, which is nice. But
But I think it's too that people don't invite. I know this is me personally. I've heard this 1,000 times. Yeah, we didn't invite you because we figured you were working. I've gotten that.
Yeah, we're always.
I get that a lot. Like, oh no, wait, you guys getting married? Like, that's so awesome. Yeah, we didn't invite you. We figured you were booked on a Saturday in July. Well, I am, even if I'm not. And I make damn sure not to post social media. Just sitting at home with my wife, chilling out.
We have to go to this wedding for this family member who we saw 4 Christmases ago. So make sure you take off work so we can attend.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I like when my wife and kids will go to a wedding for a relative, and it is genuinely a night where I'm booked. And the first thing out of their mouth when they get home, I've trained them so well. Hey, how was the wedding? DJ sucked, couldn't mix his way out of a paper bag. I'm like, oh.
that feels good, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does. It really does. Because you're like, yeah. And then you realize nobody at that wedding knows that I'm a DJ or that I can mix. So it doesn't really matter in the long run. They're like,
okay, really? Whatever. Yeah.
So
just like having
y'all,
that little,
Go ahead,
I know this is, I know John touched on this a little bit about when he said, we're all getting older and stuff. When it comes to the weddings for the early to mid 20s couples, chances are, even if they're only talking to us, chances are their parents have input into who gets selected to be their DJ. So do you think that they see us as like their sort of their parents or their guardian's choice or this safe bet? So now all of a sudden they feel this calling to give us a lot of guidelines on how to be cool at the wedding.
That's possible.
So that's
possible. Yeah. I know that, Stevie paid for her own wedding. It wasn't even a question. Jackie and I were there. We put some dough in, but for the most part, Stevie took care of it. And most of the weddings,
she's other level though, Brian. That's
well, yeah, but I mean, she's
there's Stevie and everyone else. It's a hard comparison. Just saying,
she's the rule more than the exception in this case. I'm thinking about the last couple weddings that I've done, and
They've been
I think the
self-funded.
one I have coming up this weekend, I think mom is heavily involved. But other than that, most of the weddings that I've been doing are financed by the couple.
Yeah, it has changed a lot over the years. It was always parents. Like you would actually talk 20 years ago to the mother up until the week out or 2 weeks out where the bride would suddenly appear.
Right.
I've got a wedding next year. I've got 20 emails back and forth with the mother. I finally had to say to the mother, I really need your daughter's email. I have a music account to open, yada, yada, yada. And I really would like to speak to her. Well, I'm kind of running things for her. I'm like, I understand that, but
Yeah,
I think the mom went so far as to the like, well, since I'm paying for you, and
I've got
that was
that
a little
Friday.
red flaggish where I'm like, I don't want to really do this then.
Yeah, I've got that coming up this Friday too, where the mom is so involved. I'm getting texts from the mom and the bride now, and I can't keep straight who's who half the time.
Yeah.
I'll tell her to send it. Oh, God, I didn't mean to send it to you. I mean, I'm not trying to have you micromanage the situation.
No, it's
Crap,
it's a hassle.
Oh, I thought this was her email. Yep, fun stuff. And I've got
Always a good time
this month, and then I'm done for the year for weddings, and I'm gonna do happy dance when that happens because I'm sick of this crap.
Right.
I'm just tired of it. I'm done. I'm done for the year. I'll do it next year, and it'll change so much. But I think we're probably time. So let's put a fork in it. Thank you all so much for watching. I want to wish you all a happy St. Patrick's Day because that's probably when you're going to see this.
Happy Kwanzaa, everybody.
Yeah, you want to say hello to our sponsor?
We did.
He did.
The top
Did you?
show.
Yeah, he did.
Mhm.
Honestly.